The fuck was that?
Hello, welcome to episode 290 of Ferg on the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Joining me as always is the startled League Freak. You can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm good. Our audio cunt is fired. What the hell just happened?
My keyboard moved.
Okay. What the hell's your keyboard made out of? Fucking fingernails down a chalkboard or something?
Exactly.
Wow.
No one fucks with my keyboard.
Yeah.
Now, I've got to say something off the top here.
Mm-hmm.
I caught up with Mrs. Nathan and Mr. and Mrs. Nathan on the weekend.
Oh, really?
Had a lovely barbecue.
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Nathan, I mean, he's a lovely bloke. Let's not beat around the bush here.
Yeah.
Huge, I gotta say, huge fan of Manscaped. And I can tell you now, firsthand, he is very good with the machinery.
Really?
Exquisite.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, Mr. Nathan, I guess we'll call him, Mr. Mrs. Nathan.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah. He showed us that he's got the Manscaped T-shirt before anyone thinks about nothing weird. But I know that Mrs. Nathan is very appreciative of Manscaped as well. And if you go to Manscaped, if you want to be as happy as Mrs. Nathan is, you go to manscaped.com, right? You put in at checkout, you put in our exclusive code, which is NRL, and you'll get 20% off and free shipping of everything they've got. This is a limited time offer, okay? I'm telling you right now, if you're going to do it right now, okay? Go to manscaped.com, get the perfect package. That's the one to get because you get everything in it. It's fantastic. And 20% off and free shipping. Like, basically, we are putting money in your pocket. And if it's good enough for Mrs. Nathan, it's good enough for your missus as well.
Absolutely. Now that we've got the friendly comments out of the way,
yes,
I need to little disclaimer. Freaky's pissed off.
I am,
and I figure let's not save the rage. Let's unleash that shit.
Well, should we tell everyone what the occasion is first?
I don't know. I think you should unleash the rage, get that shit out of the way, and then we'll go into everything else after that.
Okay, all right.
Well, let's leave a carrot for a little bit down into the episode.
All right. Well, the International Rugby League chairman, whose name is Troy Grant, has welcomed proposed changes to the State of Origin eligibility rules that would allow somebody like Jason Talmolo to play for the Maroons in State of Origin series. I don't know who the fuck Troy Grant is, but he should keep his fucking mouth shut. Okay? There are all of these statistics about rugby league in Australia. 71% of NRL players are born outside of Australia. 52% are of Pacific Nations heritage. Okay? That's great. That's fantastic. That's really good. That's brilliant. I love it. It's fantastic. That sounds to me like Australia needs to develop its rugby league players a little bit better. Doesn't it sound like that to you, Andrew?
Well,
does it sound like we should be undermining any fucking avenue for Australian-born players? And I don't care what your race is, okay? Let's get this fucking race shit out of the way. Because I've seen people on Twitter saying this is about race. It's not fucking about race. It's about rugby league and it's about money, okay? Because the Australian Rugby League in 1980 put together a series by itself, coming out of a decade in the 70s where rugby league in Australia was terrible. It was rotten to watch. It was on the nose with the public. Sponsors didn't want anything to do with it. It was a game for thugs, okay? And it was also a game that was divided. The Sydney competition was the only competition around. And what they did is they brought together a State of Origin series. Now, the state series used to be a residency series. You played for the state where you were living in if you're an Australian player. Then they changed it to State of Origin, which allowed players that were born in Queensland to play for Sydney-based clubs, but then go and play back for Queensland in the State of Origin series. A lot of people said it wouldn't work. Guess what? It worked. And it was something that Australian Rugby League tried, and it worked. And ever since then, every other fucking rugby league nation has sat back and whinged that the state of, how can we compete with the State of Origin series? How can we do that? How about you make your own fucking things? How about you do something? You pull your finger out your fucking asses and do something to make the game in your own countries better. Now, Jason Talmolo, in my opinion, is the best lock that's ever played the game in the whole history from 1895. And if you need to know how great he is, this is a guy that was born in New Zealand, that went to North Queensland Cowboys as a youngster. He turned them into a premiership winner. Yeah, Jonathan Thurston had a lot to do with that as well. But damn it, Jason Talmolo was rock solid for them and helped them win a premiership. He then decided he didn't want to play for the Kiwis, which was really easy. Turn up for the Kiwis, play for the Kiwis, great. He wanted to go and play for Tonga, which was the nation of his heritage. He went to Tonga when they were just one of those Pacific Islands teams that didn't do much. You know, they played well against each other, but that was it. He turned them from that team to one that was the best team in the world when we last played International Rugby League. They beat Australia, they beat New Zealand, they beat Great Britain, they beat everyone. And he did that. He was the foundation of that. And he did that at a time when the Tongan Rugby League was a fucking shambles. They couldn't even call it the Tongan International Team. They'd call it the Tongan Invitational Team. That's how great Jason Talmolo is. What we should be doing is investing in international rugby league. So players like Jason Talmolo can play for the nation that he wants to play for, and you leave Australia to go and play State of Origin. Because that's no one else's business. That's Australia's business. All right? What we should be doing, instead of saying to all of these international players, it'd be great if you played State of Origin, we should be sitting back and saying, man, our State of Origin series is great, and it all feeds into the Australian Rugby League team. And damn, I love it watching Australia trying to beat Tonga with Jason Talmolo. We shouldn't be undermining the international game every chance we can get, and we shouldn't be undermining the State of Origin series every chance we get, because some fucking idiot in head office has looked at the wind this morning and said, it's blowing the other direction. Let's change another fucking rule. I'm sick of the rule changes. Can we just write the rule book, put it in a vault, chuck it in the ocean like it was the fucking Tesseract, and leave it? We don't need to change everything every 5 minutes. It's pissing me off, Andrew.
I'd like to know why the International Rugby League, in all their wisdom, are getting involved in a thing that's not international.
Yeah.
This is a NRL concept. That's all it is. It doesn't need to be internationally recognised. It's let's be honest, it's a series. It's not much more than an exhibition series.
If I'm running
because there's no nations involved. It's a thing they do as rep footy between two states. England had this for a long time. It was called War of the Roses.
And no one gave a fuck.
That's right. And if they want to get if they want to get the best players in the world into the best competition in the world, then they need to be focusing on, as you said, international football.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why Origin has become the biggest spectacle is because international football has just been frittering away. And so the competition just starts to fritter away, and a lot of it comes down to the fact that England have been running on a treadmill for the best part of 40 years. And so Australia's just out there beating everyone they want. Now we've finally got Tonga come along and they're competitive. We've got New Zealand who have been competitive more often than not since, the last 25, almost 30 years. And Great Britain / England are just drifting further and further behind everyone else. And I think this is the problem that the International Rugby League's got, is the majority of international teams globally are in the Northern Hemisphere. But all of the best rugby league is being played in a small part in the Southern Hemisphere. That's pretty much it. And so everyone in the Northern Hemisphere wants to be in the best competition in the world, which is down south. And they want to be in Origin because it's the best series there is in the world. Instead of looking inward and hunkering down on what we've already got, they should be trying to improve the international game and expand the fucking thing. And I hate this inward-looking, backwards concepts that it just goes on in rugby league all the time. And if you're running the international rugby league right now, you've got to stop looking at what we have, look at what we don't have, and start building from there.
I dare say you agree with me when I say this. In a perfect world, rugby league grows so far beyond state of origin that we just do away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if this bloke, I forgot his name. Let's call him Terry.
His name's Tony Grant. I've never heard of Tony Grant. Have you?
No, don't know who he is.
Troy Grant. I didn't even remember his first name.
I was going to call him Terry.
Terry Grant.
We'll call him Terry.
Better than John Grant. We can all agree on that.
That's true. If Terry wants to do something to try and help rugby league, how's about he goes and tries to capitalise on the currently almost lost fan base they've got in Toronto at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a good idea. They build a fan base there, a decent sized one, considering how short a time that Wolfpack team was around. Why would you completely ignore what they've got there in order to tinker around and piss fart around with a concept that doesn't need tinkering around with? It's the biggest drawing rugby league competition in the world as far as bums on seats, cash, sponsorship money, TV viewing audiences. Why fuck with that? If that thing's working, leave it the fuck alone.
Yes, and it's not only that, Andrew. It's like, okay, that's working. Are we having a problem developing players from other nations in the NRL? No, that's working fantastically well. Are international teams not being able to compete with Australia? No, that's working very well. Why the fuck would you change anything?
I dare say a lot of these people are based in, as they always are, based in the Northern Hemisphere.
Listen to me, Toby, whatever your name is. How about you tell us what the calendar is for International Rugby League after fucking December this year? I bet you can't. Too busy worrying about state of origin? Are you serious? It's so fucking annoying because, look, if we weren't developing these nations, and it's the NRL, it's not the International Rugby League. The International Rugby League is fucking useless, and they always have been. Until such time as France was running some International Rugby League for us, because no one else could be bothered, and then at some point Australia and England decided to take over, and then Australia just was like, oh, fuck this shit, and left it to England. And the Poms are so bad at running rugby league, you just got to look at how they run rugby league in England. And ever since then, International Rugby League has been a fucking shambles. You know, any idea that you would water down International Rugby League and State of Origin football, to what end? So that more people watch State of Origin? Like, what are you talking about? Millions of people watch State of Origin as it is. To make more money? It sells out the biggest stadiums in Australia.
Yeah, like, you can't put more people into an already full stadium.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is if you start tinkering with it and let people in there who aren't from New South Wales or Queensland, and yes, I know that there's been players from outside of New South Wales and Queensland playing Origin in the past, but if you make it an official rule and you allow anyone to play in it, you do run a very real risk of people losing interest in it, and then State of Origin as a concept starts losing its appeal.
Yep.
And how's that help anyone? Right now you've got something that works perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
Just like rugby league rules. Stop fucking with it. It works fine. Go play with something else that's not working. How's about the International Rugby League tries to figure out a way of fixing English rugby league? Try and maybe create a State of Origin series in England that people would be interested in, other than England playing against a bunch of people who are not quite English, but if they keep them there long enough, they might claim them as their own.
Let's call it the International Invitational over 35 team, because that's what it fucking is that they're going to play. The English Rugby League team is too important to play France, Scotland, Ireland, or Wales. Just ask them. What a bunch of losers. When was the last time England won anything worthwhile?
I would love nothing more than for Australia and New Zealand to start investing a lot more time and effort in France.
Well,
imagine what would happen to English Rugby League if France started becoming not just better than them, but vastly better than them. Imagine the meltdowns in England when France gets to beat England next time around.
I think if Australian Rugby League linked up with French Rugby League, say that, because the French would have to come to Australia and say, listen, we got a problem and we need you to come and help us. And we are going to say yes to everything you say to us. That's how willing we are to work with you. I think within 5 years' time, the French Rugby League team would be consistently beating the English Rugby League team, because no one plays rugby league more the way it is supposed to be played than France.
Yeah.
When France play rugby league, they play it like the rule book states it should be played. Okay, no one plays better rugby league than France when they're at their best. Not even Australia. Not even Australia. And if they just get their fitness levels up, if they sort out their junior development, if they can get more depth, if their halves are learning to play the game, not from a bunch of fucking English players, but from some people that actually can play in the halves, they're going to just be amazing. They're going to be really, really good. And even New Zealand. I mean, the New Zealand Rugby League is crap. Let's face it. New Zealand Rugby League, tell me the last thing that they did. Just thing.
Won the World Cup?
No, I'm not talking about their team.
Oh.
Like the last innovation, the last good idea, they've been talking about doing their own version of Origin for fucking 30 years now.
I think what they're doing there is they put the idea out there and they think, if we put the idea out there, the NRL will do the rest. And the NRL's going, yeah, it's a good idea. You should get, your national board to do something about it, because that's what we did here. And they're like, we kind of want you guys to do it. And that's kind of where they're at. Exactly.
The NRL should take over New Zealand Rugby League, and New Zealand Rugby League would be so much better for it. The fact that New Zealand Rugby League was overtaken by tiny nations in the Pacific Islands, some of these nations whose boards were a catastrophic mess, says a lot about the way that rugby league is run in New Zealand. And I just think that all of this stuffing around and gazing at state of origin football, I think it's gross. My goal would be that we see international rugby league at a level where we're not even talking about state of origin football. We're saying state of origin, who cares about that? Can we just get Australia to be a good test team again? That's the goal, surely. It shouldn't be the opposite way.
No, that's right. And look, that's one thing that I will give a lot of credit to Mal Meninga for, is he's trying to build that sense of importance, I guess, around getting an Australian jumper.
Yeah.
I really do like what he's doing now, and I hope he hangs around in that role for quite a while to make sure that continues to happen, because people are starting to really cherish getting an Aussie jumper again now, whereas in the past it was like, oh, this is not too bad, it's not as good as Origin, but it's not too bad. We've actually got people who cherish that Aussie jumper again as much as they should.
And the thing is too, that last real international season we had, where Tonga ended up beating Australia, Australia beat New Zealand, Great Britain couldn't beat anyone. I mean, PNG beat Great Britain. I think in my lifetime that's the best international rugby league season I've ever witnessed. I'm not even joking though. Can you think, in terms of overall international rugby league seasons, can you think of any that have been better than that?
I think I'm going to sound like an arsehole here. 1954 was a good one. And I'm not saying that as a
Listen to
joke.
this fucking guy.
I'm not saying that as a joke, though. I mean,
Yeah.
that was when we actually, not we, France
Mm-hmm.
went through every hoop possible to create a World Cup when every other supporting nation was trying to give reasons not to have it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wanted to have the USA in there. And England said, no, they're not good enough. And France said, we'll play them and see how they perform, and we'll judge that for ourselves. And France played them. I think they beat them like 13-0. It wasn't or it might have been a bit more than that, but it wasn't by much.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't an absolute, drubbing. But then they went, yeah, you know what? Maybe they're not ready yet. So they said, how's about we get Wales in there? And England went, no, you're not going to make Great Britain weaker. And then Australia's like, oh, we don't have to travel over there. It's going to cost us money. France said, oh, we'll pay for your flights. Don't worry about it. Oh, but accommodation, we'll pay for your accommodation too. Don't worry about it. And every time they put a wall up, France knocked it down. And that's why I'm so passionate about France's international game, because they've done so much for the game internationally. And internationally, the game has done so little for them in return. They got fucking deleted by the Vichy government, and they got back on their own terms. And still, international game went, oh, well done. Well done, guys. You did well. So, yeah, it was a good year. France were at the absolute peak that year. Australia was pretty damn good. Great Britain was pretty damn strong. And New Zealand were not at the same level, but they weren't that far behind. And so you had 4 genuine international sides that were all pretty evenly matched. Then you had, USA were starting to do tours. They were trying to get the game up in Italy, getting the game up in South Africa, and there's just little bits of rugby league going on all over the world, and they're trying to get the game going everywhere, and there's just a lot of excitement about the game then. Don't know why it stopped, but that 50s period for me is when rugby league internationally was at its absolute peak.
It stopped because the international boards, for the most part, are lazy and insular.
Well, I mean, for a long time too, those international boards were made up of people from Australia, England, and New Zealand only. It took a while to even get France in there. I think France actually had to lobby to get a official on the board in order to get the World Cup across in '54, because they weren't even on the board in '54.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
so crazy. I just when things like this come up, I get so angry because I think the people running this game, they don't even understand what's got to happen to make this game better than it is, and that should always be the goal. And I look at State of Origin, and it's all right. You don't have to mess with it. They fixed up the eligibility rules in recent years, and so now at least it's not a free for all where you had basically the New South Wales and Queensland coaches starting to draft international players into their team and luring them in with money. And all it did was hurt the Australian team. Like, it's no coincidence that after undermining our eligibility rules at State of Origin level, that we lost our first Test series against New Zealand, and then a few years later lost our first World Cup in a generation, or maybe even 2 or 3 generations. I think it's fair to say, definitely playing generations. That's not a coincidence. And when all of the eligibility rules were tightened up, Australian Rugby League realised, man, we've got no forwards. And it's taken us a long time to develop forwards again so that we've got someone like a David Fafita. Like, for a long time, we didn't have very good forwards because we had relied on other nations at State of Origin level to bolster out our pack. The likes of Tony Carroll, James Tarmo, Brad Thorne, Petro Sivanasiva, all these players that weren't born in Australia. And we can't go back to that for Australian Rugby League, first of all. But International Rugby League can't be looking to go back either. We need to make those players say, I don't want to play. What would I play for New South Wales or Australia? I'm a proud Tongan. I'm a proud Samoan. I'm a proud Kiwi. I'm a proud Fijian. I'm from the Cook Islands. I'm from PNG. Wherever it is they're from, That's what we should be doing. We should be investing in that. We should be giving them avenues to play those games. And we've been saying for so long, like, it shouldn't be a state of origin series. It should be the mid-season international calendar where, the lead-in for state of origin, if you want to say that's going to be the last game, and I think broadcasters want that to be, the lead-in to those games should be a Sunday afternoon clash between Tonga and Samoa. And maybe the next weekend it's a clash between the winner of those two versus New Zealand. And, maybe the loser plays Fiji, and the winner of that game plays,
You could have like a Four Nations or something like that, or, a Pacific Six Nations thing, or, just something like that, and just have every Origin week, you got no NRL on. You have these Pacific Nations playing each other, and it happens every year. And they all get to play each other on Australian TV, get some sponsorship money for them, get a lot of crowds coming in. They get to play on a regular basis, and it's only going to strengthen them. Because, we have started doing that. That's why we started to see PNG started to improve, Fiji started to improve, Tonga, Samoa. They've all started to improve because they're starting to play regularly against teams of, high caliber strength, basically full of NRL quality players.
Yeah.
And that's made their nations get better and better and better, and at a rapid rate, to the point now that PNG and Tonga are now competitive. And when I say competitive, I mean capable of beating, because they have done, teams like Great Britain. And that has not taken long. And that's what we need to do, is keep doing that so that playing for their own nation is something that they look forward to doing, because it's not like something they'll get to do whenever there's a World Cup year on. It's something they can do every goddamn year.
Exactly.
So you don't need to sit there and go, I want to play international football, I'm going to wait till there's a World Cup on. No, you can play it every year when Origin's on.
What the thing you want is for a player like Jason Talmolo to say, I'm not playing for Queensland. Earn less money? Are you serious? That we want them to be earning more money playing international footy. And it's possible because it is international rugby league. It is drawing in the entire world if you do it right. And I just think the fact that the International Rugby League chairman is worrying about state of origin football, it's like, are you serious? That's not your job.
And it's the last thing they need to worry about.
Thomas, whatever your name is.
Timbo.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Right. You purged?
Well, on to the next thing. Next thing.
Right. Okay. We've got our little announcement that you mentioned before.
It's our announcement. Go on, you say it.
All right. Today marks our 2 years birthday since our very first episode.
Yes.
And, a few viruses aside, we probably would have cleared 300 episodes by now, but we got to 290. So almost averaging, 150 odd a year or so.
Just about. I think we're also averaging a close to death encounter for both of us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's been pretty phenomenal.
Yeah.
Pump out 290 episodes in 2 years.
The thing that people would find crazier than that is that it's about 2 years and 5 days since we first talked on Skype.
Yeah, that's all right.
We basically just got stuck straight into it.
All right, what do we do next? I don't know. Can you record on Skype? Oh, you can. Oh, well, let's try that. And it's the most amateurish setup ever, but you're still here, and so are we.
Yeah, something's working.
Absolutely. I was going to say something else then. Don't know. Who cares? Happy birthday, mate.
Yeah, happy birthday. It's been good fun, hey?
Bloody oath.
Yeah.
Bloody oath it has. What else have we got on? Actually, I was going to say, that's what it was. We're probably close to 300 episodes all up if you consider the live shows we've done that aren't included in that count.
Oh, 100%, yeah. We must have done, it's got to be close to 10 live shows. I think it's probably 7 or 8 of them.
And some of those are miles long.
Oh, yeah. What was the long? Didn't we do a 6 hour one or 5 hour one?
Yeah,
Something
we
like
did.
that?
We did a double header, I think.
Yeah.
Remember they had the might have been for the Challenge Cup final. They had the 1895 Cup before it, which is like a mini Challenge Cup thing, but only for the teams that weren't in Super League.
Yeah, it was like, I feel like Batley played in it for some reason.
Something like that, yeah. We
Yeah.
found that game more entertaining than the Super League one.
Yeah, was that the year that the Challenge Cup final was an absolute snooze fest?
Yeah, we thought St Helens were going to absolutely flog whoever they were up against, and I think they got beat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who's surprised? But there you go. That was. It might have been the 6 hour. Might have been that international game we watched.
Let me think. Because, oh man.
Well, it was definitely. I'm pretty sure it was that English game one because I think we had
Okay.
Boogie come on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, Boogie, come on. We had a
Was
good
it?
yak.
Yeah, that went off the rails in a few places. What else we got here? Ah, yes, I don't know if anyone's seen this. The Parramatta Eels.
Mm.
Their social media copped a bit of a battering on the weekend.
Yeah.
They posted a photo of Scott Morrison wearing his Sharks gear that he bought like 6 hours before the game started.
Yeah.
He's in the Parramatta sheds after the game, and he's not consoling his Sharks team, who, let's be honest, they battled on pretty bravely considering they didn't actually get to use a single interchange. Did you know that?
They didn't actually get to use one.
You know you get 10 interchanges per game?
Yeah.
They were replacing injured people so early on. They didn't even bring the cards out of the folder. They didn't get to use one interchange.
Well, I didn't know that. Like, I knew that they didn't have any players on their bench, but I didn't know they didn't make one interchange. That's pretty crazy.
So, and for all the criticism I've given Aaron Woods over the years, I've got to give him some credit here. He played the full 80 minutes in the middle, as did Hamlin Ueli, as did Toby Rudolph. All, use those quotation marks, middle forwards. And most of those guys usually play 20, 25 minutes in the first half, and then they come back on for about 20 minutes in the back end of the second half. And so they get that big gap in the middle. But all three of them had to play the full 80 minutes all the way through. And they did pretty bloody well. And it's not surprising that, it wasn't until the last 15, 20 minutes that they just got too tired and Parramatta started to walk through them.
Yeah.
Unbelievable performance, though. But, instead of consoling his team on a very brave effort, he's decided to, skip over to Parramatta and cheer on with them. And the Eels Twitter account put up a photo with ScoMo in there with their players saying, "He's ours now, Cronulla Sharks." And the Sharks didn't reply. But a lot of Parramatta fans did say, "We don't fucking want him." And a lot of Sharks fans replying with, "You can keep him."
Yeah, and look, there was a picture that came out, and it might have been the same picture, I'm not sure. And in the background, there was, and I'm not going to name the person because all of this was thrust on her by others, okay? And I just think it's a bit of an unfair situation, especially when you consider the political climate in Australia at the moment. And there's a picture of, and she's an Eel staffer. She's been described as the sports scientist, and that's all I know of. I'm sure she's got an area that she specialises in, and she's in the background. She's kind of got her arms crossed, and she is looking on at Scott Morrison, sort of congratulating the Eels, and she doesn't look impressed, I think is the way you could say it. And people started posting this image and saying, and basically putting it into the current political climate on Twitter in Australia, and basically using her to say, "Oh, look, she feels the same way we all do," or whatever. This is what other people are saying. And then she come out and she tweeted in response to the photo, and this was her reply to it. She said, and I'm quoting this, "I will not respect a man who has the time to shake hands of men who have won a football match, but is too busy to attend #March for Justice." Now, March for Justice was a march that was held, I think it was about two weeks ago now.
Yep.
And it was held outside of not state parliament. It was held outside of Australian Parliament House and around different capital cities. And it was to protest about some of the things we're seeing happening in Parliament House in terms of the behaviour of different politicians. And so she posted that, and then not too long after, her post was deleted and her account was set to private. And it's caused a lot of
anguish,
and anger, and people saying that this person has been censored by the club. And she's recently come out and said that she's had the full support of the club and things like that. And it's a really complex situation. And I don't think it's not a black and white answer to this whole thing, because I can see where the Eels just didn't want to, they just want a football game. Everything's going all right for them. And all of a sudden they're dragged into a political thing. And the Eels also have the Prime Minister in their sheds. And look, all of these clubs, they get grants from all political parties at some level. And so they're all trying to grease the wheels with these politicians. Doesn't matter what side they're from. And so they're trying to keep those wheels greasy. I think it's fair to say. And I just think they probably at some level didn't want to be attached to any of this stuff. Now, whether they told her to delete it or they suggested it or they did anything in terms of I don't know that pressure's the right word, but maybe suggest that she deletes it. It's an interesting situation.
Yeah, I think for Parramatta, I'll say this. I think when Scott Morrison appeared, someone took the photo. I think their thought process was, we'll just do a cheeky tweet to the Sharks about this, given that he's a fan of them. Ha, 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 ha. And bang, pop it out there. Yeah. And I don't think it was intended to be anything more than just a cheeky jibe.
Yes.
However, I think it was something that probably deserved just a little bit of thinking, given the amount of drama that's been going on within Morrison's political party, his government. Mm-hmm. Lots of mistreatment of women, or allegations of it especially. And then you throw in there too the drama that went on with Jared Hayne and the verdict with him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something where you go, you know what? You kind of feel like they've just not read the room very well on that one. And the thing is, they've not removed the tweet. They've left their tweet up there. I would have thought that after they got the first barrage of tweets coming, they would have gone, yeah, you know what? Maybe we've done an oops here. Let's just click delete and move on. And they've just gone, nah, we'll leave it there. And I think that's the bit that probably is a bit irritating, is the fact that they've now had time to think about it and they still think it's fine, and they've left it there.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, it's a bit silly.
And the thing is too, like I've got no problem with what their staff member said. I really don't. If that's how she feels, that is completely fine. And so I don't want anyone to think that I'm against her being able to have a say or anything like that, because that's not the case. But I think, and then there you go, but, I think when you work for an organisation, and these rugby league teams are public, it's not like they're a bunch of plumbers. It's not like they're an organisation that their entire existence kind of revolves around being very public and having a lot of public attention, having a lot of eyeballs. That's what pays the bills. And everyone in the organisation probably in their contracts has something written into it in terms of, what they're able to say, what they're able to post. We've seen
of course.
that, and we've
Of
talked
course.
about this with Israel Folau a lot,
Yeah.
and, rightly or wrongly, that clause can be brought into effect in different situations. And, you can in some ways see where the Eels were coming from in that they just don't, they're a football team, but at the same time, it's really reading the room wrong, as you say.
Well, I think the thing that's a bit contradictory here is the fact that her tweet, her comments have had to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
Yet their tweet about him being there and, talking about that Parramatta now claim Scott Morrison as one of their fans has remained. Yet her tweet's not the one that caused all the controversy.
Yeah.
Their social media one did from the actual official account did.
And the other thing is too, it's like if they were like, oh geez, look what this has caused, let's get out of this, they would have got rid of all of that,
Yeah.
It's a horrible situation all round, but I think it's an interesting one. And my question is, if it had been a player that tweeted that, what would the result have been? I think they would have made them delete it, but I'm not sure. You don't know.
I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think, I think in the current climate too, it may also come across looking a bit bad if she's been told to remove her tweet, given that women are actually getting their voice out now more than ever, in a more passionate manner, and because of the power of social media, you can spread your message a lot more quickly, a lot more widely than ever before, and so they're actually getting some traction with this thing now, and especially with the way they're being, some women have been treated in government houses and stuff like that. Especially, I fully support what they're going through there, because some of the treatment some of those women are getting in there is just fucking deplorable. And yeah, for too long they've been kind of made or forced to be quiet. I hate to think that she's being made to keep quiet because of a very valid comment that she's made.
Yeah, and the first thing I thought of when I found out that the comment had been deleted, I thought of the Women in League movement. And, we've talked about before, like the Women in League movement sometimes conveniently gets pushed aside when it's not convenient for rugby league authorities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what sometimes the Women in League thing, it's frustrating because it can't be that way. Women are as much part of rugby league as men. It's weird to think you got to say that, but it's just the case, like.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to soon. I mean, they're not just the people who give birth to the football players.
No.
Let's start on the basic level there, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're involved in the clubs at every single level along the way. They're sideline officials. They're referees. They've got their own competition specifically for them.
Mm-hmm.
They are intertwined in this game and have been from day dot and always will be. There's no getting around that.
No. And I thought about, like, I hope this isn't another one of those cases where it's like Women in League, but only when it's good for marketing, and we've seen that a lot. And I really don't like that about the way that the NRL has handled Women in League in terms of it being a concept rather than what it actually is, which is like, that worried me. But she come out in an article, and I'm calling her she because I don't want to use her name. I think it's, man, I'm sure she wasn't thinking all of this would happen when she was standing there in that dressing room.
No.
And I feel sorry. I feel really, really sorry that, all of this it would be really stressful, I'm sure. And I think that both of us just hope that there's been no pressure applied to her. That's what it comes down to.
Furthermore, I hope she's being supported by the NRL and the Parramatta Eels and not abandoned by them.
100%. 100%, because she's part of our game. She's part of our game as the players and the officials and the referees, and that we need to, I think as a sport, it's important that, she's one of ours. That's the way I look at it.
Yep. Fully agree. Man, we've hit some heavy topics already.
I know. It's been a full-on podcast already.
It has. We'll have to see if we can find something a bit lighthearted to move on to.
I got a couple of emails we could read.
Well, that's something we could do. I will say there's just a few little things here. There was talk recently that Jackson Hastings had been approached by the West Tigers.
Yes.
And apparently, I've not seen it, but I'd heard that apparently Jackson Hastings completely poo-pooed the plan. And I mean, that's a typical West Tigers approach, is we'll tell the media and hope that he comes aboard and goes, I wouldn't mind going to the West Tigers, and then they contact the club. That's the approach they've used for many, many contract signings. Yeah. And it's a reason why they've made none of them. Oh, man, it's a rough one. They're geniuses. Yeah. Speaking of the Tigers too, apparently there was a rumour coming out they're looking at Brent Naden. So they're going to move on from Joe Leilua and then pick up Naden. Oh my fucking god, this club is so stupid. And who was the player swap for again? I don't know, Bronson Cherry. Why not fucking add into the mix? Is Michael Jennings free?
If there was some player swap that they were suggesting would happen, I immediately tweeted today, like, please take him. Because after all that bullshit in the grand final, I thought he should have been sacked immediately. And, he's not been part of their team this year so far, really. So, I'm pretty happy with that. I just can't believe you'd do any of that stuff during the grand final. But, yes. Could the West Tigers just recruit normally, please, hey?
Well, I'd like them to stop looking at fucking centres.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is the thing. For the last 2 weeks, and he's been trending, most West Tigers fans have been going on about Luke Brooks and the halves and the West Tigers halves. The West Tigers have gone, people keep saying halves. We should probably get another centre. Mm-hmm. How the fuck do you come to that conclusion? Oh.
At least she's got a win on the weekend.
Yeah, I remember looking at it at one stage during the first half and watching Moses and Bai knock the ball on with the try line open and went, it's one of those days again, is it? So I sat down waiting for a laugh and just going, the Tigers will let them back in after an hour, and sure enough, they let it try, and then they managed to get one back and hang on for a win. It's like, well, that's a bit rare.
Yeah, it was a weird game. Like a win's a win, but the Knights were pretty bad.
They were crap.
Yeah. I was shocked, actually.
Yeah. That's kind of like one of those losses you need to have to just sort of have a bit of a reset. They were crap. I think if you got the Knights and they were 50% better, which is still not great, they'd have beaten the Tigers pretty comfortably.
Yeah, because, the Tigers, clawed and scratched their way to a win. And it's 2 points. Like, it doesn't matter how you get it. But, yeah, I think the thing that come out of it for me, first of all, I was happy you got a win. That was the first thing. I was like, oh, man, Andrew will be happy with that. The second thing was, I was like, wow, Newcastle. Like, that's maybe the most disappointing loss I've seen from a team so far this season. Because if you're the Newcastle Knights and you watch the way the Roosters beat the West Tigers last weekend, man, you should have been thinking we're gonna come in and really put it on them, and they didn't, unfortunately.
No, they didn't. They were pretty garbage. All right, I've got a few other things to talk about. Or should we do some emails?
Well, I've got an email here. First of all, I want to say Daniel emailed us Daniel Matua, I hope I'm saying that right. He asked our opinions on the Warriors. I finally saw them this weekend, which was awesome, and what a game to see them in. And the things that I got out of it, they're very, very big. I mean, even the Canberra Raiders are a big team. The Warriors are bigger than them, and we know all about what the Raiders went through in terms of injuries. You got to overcome that. I don't want to hear any whinging. And the Raiders love a plucky loser, so they were happy at the end of the day. But I was pretty impressed by the Warriors. The thing I was most impressed by was that their endurance during the game was pretty good. There was a point where they looked a little bit like they were about to fade, and they didn't. They kicked it up another gear, which was really cool. So, yeah, I was actually pretty impressed by the Warriors. And, you know, I think it was a pretty warm day there down in Canberra. And, you know, they held on for the win. And it was, you know, at some point they come from behind from a long way. And then it was really like to and fro for a while at the end. And they come away with the win. But, yeah, I was pretty impressed with them. I would like to see a few more games from them this season before I'm like really break them down. But man, I was cheering them on at the end of that game. I was a Warriors fan at the end of that one, I got to say.
There's two things that I've noticed about them in what I've seen from them so far this year, which is different. Aside from the size that you mentioned, okay, is the fact that when they get behind, they don't put their heads down.
Mm-hmm.
That was something they used to do an awful lot. So you'd see, you know, if they held like a 12-0 lead or a 10-0 lead, and then the opposition scores 2 tries in about 10 minutes and they start trailing, more often than not, you'd see the Warriors concede 1 or 2 more tries in very quick succession, and then the game has just gone past them before they try and get back into it, but by then it's too far gone.
Yeah, that you know what, now that you mention that, there was a couple of times in the game against the Raiders, and I was like, oh, the Raiders are going to kick on here and run away with it, because that's what you're used to from the Warriors. Yeah. But at no point in this game did they look defeated.
Like no, that's right. Yeah. And the other thing too is, Tuivasa-Sheck is not the only person sniffing around the ruck looking for an offload anymore. You got Nicarima doing it. You got Harris DeVita doing it. You got a few of the backs as well. They're coming in looking for the ball a bit more, and that means for an opposition team, you don't just need to look at one bloke all the time and think, right, all we've got to do is shut him down. We should be fine.
Yeah.
There's so many other options. And finally, that last tackle by RTS, everyone fucking raves about the fact, and rightfully so, that he runs for 200 odd metres for more games than anybody else does in the game. He's phenomenal at it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of his goal line defence in the last few years since he's been at the Warriors has been just, you know, freakish. It deserves its own highlight reel.
Yeah, he played amazingly. I loved Nicarima. Like, there was a few times in that game, Nicarima, it might have been his best game I've ever seen him play. He was fantastic.
Yeah, very solid all across the field. I don't know. See, the Warriors have always been a team that I've always struggled to pick, even when they've been in good form. I've always gone, yeah, they're due a bad one or they're due a good one, and I always get it wrong. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad to see that they've had a good start. They tend to have really slow starts. They're looking pretty good at the moment, and I think they're probably going to get a little bit better too. The defence is a little bit iffy sometimes in the middle. Mm-hmm. There were a few soft tries that Canberra scored in that game, which were a little concerning. But when you've got a bunch of big blokes who aren't too mobile left and right, and they're defending against a bunch of other big blokes, you're going to let a few soft ones through, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they play against the Panthers, who have a little bit more of a mobile pack. Look, the Panthers are right now the best team in the competition, so they're going to be the big test, but just their style of play is going to be a big test for the Warriors. It's going to be really interesting when those two teams play. But I liked what I saw, and that win, I mean, that was one of those wins. That was a famous win. Yeah. And it was funny seeing the Raiders saying, oh, we had a few decisions go against us. It's like, please, you whinge into the wrong opposition team, the poor Warriors. They're like, when was the last time the Warriors had something go their way?
The Warriors go, oh, you had a few bad decisions, did you? Let me just break out my list.
Exactly.
Yeah, 3 weeks later, it's still unraveling.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was interesting. We got another email here from Chris. He says, hear me out. I don't know, but if anyone can find a way, it's the Chooks. But the Roosters should sign James Maloney to replace Luke Keary.
No, I don't think so.
I like it. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
1 year, James Maloney, I reckon he could get you through the rest of the year.
Oh, a lot of players could. See, this is the thing, though. I don't think the Roosters with that back line need that much of a playmaker. You know, they could get by with Luke Brooks or Chad Townsend at halfback. Perfectly fine. They just need someone to do a bit of general play, kicking and passing the ball onto, you know, any one of those absolute fucking X-Factor behemoths they've got in the back line who can just score tries whenever the fuck they feel like it. That's all you need. They could put Blake Green there. It'd be fine.
Ooh.
Tim Smith, is he still alive? They could give him a jumper. He'd do fine.
He's...
Paul Kent. Paul Kent could do it. I mean, he's undefeated.
Whoa. Back up. You're going to say some stupid shit right now, Andrew. Back it up. So I think I'm worried about the Roosters making the finals. How about that?
That's a genuine risk. Given that they lost, I mean, Kiri's out for the year now.
Yeah.
But given that they lost Lamb as well, they've got Hutchison there, who is, I think he's more of a 6 than a 7. He'll be able to fill one spot. I don't know who they've got to replace Kiri, though. I don't know if is Brock Lamb still at the club, or did he leave? I think he's gone over to England. Yeah, but they just need a general 7. They could probably, if they wanted to, and what they should do, in all honesty, is contact Tom Dearden up at the Broncos and say, "Hey, mate, you want to be in the Broncos side? You know, a side that didn't win the wooden spoon last year. We'll give you a permanent gig this year. You prove yourself, we'll give you a jumper. You can be the 6 next year."
What if the Broncos have? And I don't know that they've made this decision yet, but just say the Broncos say, "Okay, we're going with Dearden from now on." What if the Broncos offered Croft to the Roosters 1 year? Boom.
I think the Roosters would take it.
I do as well.
They don't need much in the way of a playmaker.
It'd be good for Croft as well, I reckon.
Yeah. Because if think about it, the Roosters pack is very, very solid. And they've got a really good bench rotation, so they've always got good go forward, which is always good for any halfback. Doesn't matter who they are. And then you've got all of those X factors in the back line there, and Tedesco's now getting more involved as a playmaker in the, you know, when they're closer to the line, which takes a bit more pressure off the halves as well. You don't need that much of you don't need an X factor in the halves. You just need someone who can get the basics done, and that's pretty much it. And I think Croft will be able to do that comfortably.
Yeah, so do I. It's interesting though. I really do. I've just got a feeling that it wouldn't take much for the Roosters to just not make the finals. And because I really felt like Keary, you know, he was a big difference for them. And, you know, I talked a little bit in the preview for the season how, you know, they'd lost a little bit. I thought it was a bit of an off season for the Roosters, not a premiership tilt. I thought it was one of the down seasons they were going to have. Not too bad, just not, you know, among the really top teams. And losing Keary, I mean, I don't know. I just look at their team and I really worry about it. I think that their back line is going to struggle to get quality ball. I think Tedesco, he's the one player you got to shut down now. Their forwards are pretty good, but, you know, and they desperately need Radley back. But then Radley comes back and it's like, well, you kind of have to play him at hooker now. And that takes away that X factor in the forwards that he is when you bring him on as a forward off the bench. And
I reckon if Sam Verrills is fit around the same time that Radley is, I'd be putting Radley at 9 and put Verrills in the halves, and that solves one problem. Because Verrills is a pretty handy playmaker, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, he's reasonably good defensively, so it helps the defensive line remain pretty solid, if not improved a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think they've got workarounds they can use,
Mm-hmm.
but they're workarounds for a reason. They're not going to be as good as having Kiri there. So it depends on who they put in the halves as to how they'll go this year.
Yeah.
I think on paper they should still make the 8, but it does depend on what goes on those halves there. To lose both halves in one game, both with knee injuries, bloody hell, that's rough.
Yeah, it really is. It was just a horror game for them. And I mean, Kiri is, when you saw him grabbing the back of his leg and you were like, oh man, what's he done here? He's going to be out for a little bit here. And then when you saw the replay and no one had touched him, it was like, oh man.
And that's the thing too. When you see him get up and he's able to limp, but still walk off on his own.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds weird, but that's usually a sign that it's a bad one. Because the MCL is really, the pain is a lot more intense, but the severity of the injury is not as bad because it's more to the side, I think. But the ACL is much more complicated and it's a bit harder to get at, which is why it takes a lot longer to repair and fix.
I've heard the ACL injury is extreme, like one of the most painful things you can do immediately, but very quickly it's not that painful, and that's why you see them walk off the field with it sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a shock and injury, and it takes what I feel as though was going to be a pretty solid season for the Roosters. Like, they weren't going to be bad. Though I think we still had them as a top 4 team. But now I think they're down to that Newcastle, I wouldn't say Sharks level, but I think they're definitely Newcastle sort of level if Newcastle plays to their potential. Not Newcastle last week, of course.
Yeah, that's right. That was pretty average last week.
Yeah.
Any more of the emails?
Yeah, we got another email here from Tom from Brisbane. He says, "Hi boys, I'm a regular listener and fellow Rugby League tragic. I would like your opinions on the lack of forwards spoken about as potential Rugby League immortals and why you think this is the case." And he says, maybe it's media bias. He says, "Aside from Arthur Beetson, who are the best 10 forwards to play Rugby League? My list, in no particular order, would include," and this is his list, "Steve Menzies, Sam Burgess, Gordon Tallis, Paul Gallen, Ben Kennedy, Ruben Wiki, Adrian Morley, Bradley Clyde, Shane Webke, and Glenn Lazarus." He says, Paul Harrigan, sorry. "Who am I missing? I know I have suggested 11, but it's tough to narrow it down. Cam Smith is on hold for 5 years before I consider him. Thanks for the fantastic content and all that you do, Tom from Brisbane." Thanks for that one, Tom. That's a really good one.
Yeah. Well, he has forgotten there are a few forwards in the Immortals list. I mean, you got Johnny Raper, Frank Burge.
Mm-hmm.
Got a feeling there might be someone else. Can't remember them all now.
Did they finally put Norm? Did they finally?
Yeah, Norm Proven. Yes.
Yeah,
that's the other one. But there's also Duncan Hall, Herb Steinort from the early days.
Mm-hmm.
Geez, who else could you? I mean, Ron Coote was an absolute bloody legend.
Bob McCarthy.
Bob McCarthy. Yeah. Just trying to think of some players who didn't just play in 1908. There's a fair few. I'd be trying to spread them out a bit. I think.
Yeah.
No criticism here to the email there that was sent in. I think that though is how the media works, is that they do actually use a lot of recency bias.
Mm-hmm.
because we've seen them, and that's all they go off. But there were so many great players from prior to games being telecast all the time, who you just got to read what their peers wrote about them, what the journos wrote about them at the time, and I
Ken
say,
Carney,
yeah,
he'd be one I'd consider.
yeah, Barry Beath. Yeah, there's just so many of them, especially around the 60s and 70s, because the game then was becoming, it was transitioning from being unlimited tackles to limited tackles, and then went into that really grubby, rough as guts period of the 70s.
Yeah.
Forwards just had to be fucking tough, but also had to have a bit of skill, because I don't think a lot of people realise when we went from unlimited tackles, which is kind of like rugby union, but with a play the ball instead of that weird ruck and maul thing.
Mess, yeah.
We went from that to 4 tackles. So the sets would, most of the game was played in the middle, and sets were over really fast. So that was why Arthur Beetson stood out, because he was, a huge unit in the forwards who could make big meters up the middle, but also had the ball skills to create opportunities with second phase play. And that's kind of where a lot of that sort of, started from. And you find that the really good forwards are the ones who get copied.
Yeah.
Bradley Clyde, Ray Price, Wayne Pearce, these guys all took fitness to another level, and they had a fair bit of skill in there.
Ray Price is another one I think you'd have to consider.
Yeah. And it's odd, you don't hear of them in the conversations too much anymore.
No, and and I think the reason why we don't hear about forwards is because obviously you get drawn towards the spectacular players, and they're normally backs.
Yeah, that's right. Elf halves. And this is the other thing too. I think the forwards who tend to stick out are not the workhorse ones. They are the ones like Arthur Beetson. They're going to be like Steve Menzies, just scored a shit ton of tries. Dare I say, and I'm not saying that he should be in there, I'm just using it as an example, but someone like Andrew Fafita, who has that little bit of X factor about him where he can put on a step, he can run through, he can throw a pass, a good ball as a pass. He can run with the ball sideways like a 5/8 would and try and get a runner to run off him. Those sort of plays just stand out a bit more because they do something different. But, the media is easily, I suppose, fooled by those sort of people because they're doing something different. They immediately go, oh, he's someone. You go, yeah, but at the same time, they're ignoring those people who would just do 30, 40, 50 absolutely monstrous tackles every week and run rock hard lines the whole time. People like Shane Webke, Petra Sivanasiva, Lazarus, good example, who would just tradesmen.
Yeah.
And then you get people like Steve Roach who just had unbelievable offloads. There still hasn't been a prop forward as good as offloading as frequently as Blocker did. And that's the thing, people don't realise. A lot of people just see Blocker Roach as the bloke who patted Eddie Ward on the head and would get into fights a fair bit, but he was a genuinely skilled player, and he did a lot of hard yakka in the middle as well.
Yeah, and there's a reason why he played so many test matches and origin matches, and he come out of an era that was not the most skillful era in rugby league, but because of his ability, he was able to still be a top player at his position as that transition happened, where you got the Clydes and the Pierces and, Geyer and all these players come through that were a different sort of player, different athletes. Sirinen was another one. But Blocker was still able to be part of that because his game was so all-rounded like that. He wasn't just a bash and barge player.
That's right, yeah. So as far as getting a 10,
that's hard. That's getting 10.
Yeah, I can't do that now.
Yeah, what if we do what if we do an episode like that in the next week? Because, like,
Yeah.
for people that don't know, me and Andrew will dead set sit here for 3 hours, like, staring at the ceiling, going, like, and we'll toss up names, and it'll be a 3 hour process where we won't name these players until we're really bloody happy with the players.
Exactly. But just one of those random things we like to do too.
Yeah. And normally we don't record it.
Yeah, we've recorded 290 episodes. I'm pretty confident that at least 120 of our best ever episodes have never been recorded.
Never ever, yeah. We've had some of the most in-depth, geeky rugby league conversations, like going into 4 a.m. where we're like talking about what happened in 1932 in round 8, because it's like, it's incredible.
Oh yeah, that was a good email.
Yeah, that was a really good email. I'm looking forward to doing that. Our top 10 forwards of all time that aren't already immortals. That'll be really good.
Yeah. Is that it for the emails?
Yeah, that's all the emails we've got.
Nice. All right, we'll get on to the last bit of stuff we've got here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got one big talk point. We'll leave that to the end.
Okay.
Channel 9 being hacked. You told me about this story. What was this about?
Yeah. Okay, so this was really interesting. So I saw the other week that Channel 9 were doing this. They were doing some special, because everything's special these days, where they were talking about some stuff that had happened internationally, and they were blaming a foreign government for it, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh man, that's, interesting that they're doing that. Anyway, on Sunday, the NRL footy show wasn't on in Sydney. The AFL one was on. And they said they were having technical difficulties, and people were like, oh man, this AFL stuff, it's terrible. Can't watch this. And then later in the day, Channel 9 had said that they had been basically attacked with a cyber, attack, I guess you'd call it, and that it had affected their broadcasting. And so they had to broadcast things out of Melbourne for some of the day. And it was really interesting because, like, if that is the case, you would think that the Australian government and the authorities would be right on top of that, because that's a cyber attack. That's pretty important stuff, especially to a broadcast. Like, what happens if you have to do an emergency broadcast through all the broadcasters, and they can be the victim of a cyber attack? It's not a good thing. But it was really interesting to hear all this news come out about it. Anyway, I heard on a Channel 9 owned radio station this evening, and they were talking about this cyber attack, and it was on the biggest network in Australia. They didn't target Channel 7. They didn't target the ABC. They targeted the biggest network in Australia. And I'm thinking, well, they don't win all the ratings, and they haven't got the biggest number of stations. How are they the biggest network? It's got to be. But it was really interesting to hear that had happened. But then I thought, like, if you were going to do a cyber attack on Channel 9, why would you stop the NRL footy show from being shown? Like, wouldn't you do it in prime time or something? Like, say you were the person that was doing the cyber attack, and you went to your boss and you said, hey, I did a cyber attack on Channel 9, and then they were like, oh, wow, what did you do? And they said, well, we stopped the Sunday afternoon footy show. That person would be fired.
So you do understand what the word attack means, don't you? Like, what you did was help them. That's a cyber assistance.
Yeah, it's just weird. I found the whole thing strange.
It is a bit weird.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting story. More developments later on the biggest network in the world.
More as it comes to hand.
Yeah, Danny White will bring us up to date with that one.
Yeah, and
he's right here.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a few here. Let's see.
Yeah.
In the West Tigers Knights game, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
There was a moment
late
in the first half where Jaden Brayley put in a kick from inside his own 40, and it was, for all money, it was going to be a 40-20. Dane Laurie miraculously tapped it back in field, But he's tapped it back in. It's gone back towards the West Tigers goal line as the Knights are coming down to, either score a try or round him up either way. He runs out of the field of play. He comes back into the field of play. He jumps in the air, I guess, or maybe it's part of his running, to get the ball. And it's for me, it's pretty clear when you look at the replay that his foot hasn't quite touched the ground by the time he's touched the ball, which means it should have been called a 40-20 because he touched the ball while he was out of the field of play. But it's called play on. A lot of people are quite clear that it was a blatant knock on. I thought it was not that clear cut. And in the end, I mean, the Tigers do what they always do, and they, turn the ball over on the 20, just 3 tackles later anyway. So the Knights got what they were supposed to get anyway.
Yeah,
but
Rugby League gods sometimes just say, no, we're undoing that.
Yeah, sometimes the Rugby League gods overrule the bunker.
Yeah.
We'll sort this shit out. You just sit back there and watch, okay? I didn't think it was that big a deal because, sometimes shit just happens like that. It wouldn't have been too easy to call on the fly. I must admit, initially, I thought the touchy was a bit further back.
Mm-hmm.
When I looked at it, they were actually probably about 15, 20 metres away.
Mm-hmm.
But still, I don't think it'd be easy to find, to watch it at playing speed if the foot has just touched the ground or at the same time he grabs the ball. But there you go. I didn't think it was that big a drama.
Mm-hmm.
You though, you're
outraged. Don't say it that way.
You're outraged. Yeah, I think I heard you talking about you want to bring back the guillotine.
How dare you? How dare you? You can't say that. Jeez.
You wanted all the rules changed. I believe you said you wanted to go back into the ocean, open the vault, and you're going to pull the rules out. You're going to change them all again, rewrite them all in a different language.
I was going to pull a Tesseract back out the ocean, and because nothing ever happens bad when that happens. I thought when I saw it happen in real speed, I thought, well, he's out. And then when they didn't call it, I was like, wow, that's a really bad call. And then when you saw the replay, and I thought the touch judge was in a really good position, as you said, to make the call, and they made a really bad call on that one. I don't think it was up to the referee in that situation. I think it was definitely the touch judge.
Well, no, it's a touchy job. It's a sideline.
Yeah. And look, that's the sort of thing I think it's fair to hold a touch judge accountable for because that's their job. It's, you got to, if you can't work out when a player's in touch or out of touch, that's like what you're there for. And, I think it would have been fair if they had said, look, we're dropping the touch judge for a week over that one. The Rugby League gods worked it out, as you said, but you copped some flack over it apparently on Twitter.
Oh, some bloke was going on about, this is why you shouldn't have women involved in the game, and I called him a fuckwit.
Yeah.
Like, this is gender's got anything to do with how well you can officiate a game of football. Fuck off.
Exactly. Yeah, that's silly. It's silly, but yeah, just that I thought the call was wrong, and it happened. And it's the same thing with the video referee. I think when the video referee gets the call wrong, I mean, you can't really drop them. What do you drop them to? But I think when
VCR,
maybe
Betamax.
What if they have to go to a different bunker? Where would that, the current bunker I'm pretty sure is in Redfern. Where would
imagine if the next bunker was a downgrade and you've got to use those old film rules from the 1920s and you've got to manually crank the handle yourself. That's what they've got to do. They've got to develop the film themselves.
Oh man, that would be great.
Frame by frame.
And we see referees get dropped for bad decisions. And so I thought that was the sort of mistake that we might have seen the touch judge dropped for, just because it was a pretty bad one. But that's the thing about bad decisions in footy games. They tend to even out over the course of either the game or the season, and
or 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
If that, 2 minutes.
What if everything goes the Tigers' way all season, every decision, and every single time Graham Annesley reviews it, he comes out and he says, they've got Moses and Bye. I mean, give them a break.
Exactly. Tell you what, that's who the Roosters should get to fill in their problem in the halves.
Oh, yeah, Moses and Bye. That's it. Do you reckon? I'm trying to think, he's got 2 years left on his contract?
And Bye?
Mm.
No, I think he's in his last year.
Okay. Yeah, what if the Roosters played... I mean, obviously they could only pay like a Rooster.
I don't mind if the Tigers pay for him in full to play at the Roosters. I'm fine with that. That's a good investment.
That's fair enough. I wonder if there's any sort of clause in the NRL's contract system that would allow the West Tigers to pay a player in full to play for another club, or if the NRL would say, no, we can't have that. You've got to pay a percentage of
it does happen. Like you hear sometimes there'll be, it happened at Penrith and the West Tigers an awful lot back in their, days when they had a lot of players that would come through and they'd sign them on 3-year deals and they'd ditch them for a year or two, and they go and play with another club. The Tigers would be paying their salaries are at another club. They did it with Aaron Woods. They'd signed him to this long deal. Oh, Bryce Gibbs is a better example.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So they extended Bryce Gibbs for another 2 or 3 years, and then they ditched him 3 months later. And he spent nearly his whole time at the Cronulla Sharks being paid by the Tigers.
It's kind of crazy, hey?
Yeah, well, it's kind of normal.
Yeah, it's actually the most normal contract they've ever signed.
Yeah, that's kind of what they do.
Yeah.
It's no, I did have one stat which did trigger someone, which was funny.
What was that?
Every time that a team has won 24-20, which is the scoreline that the West Tigers beat Newcastle by, in round 3, they've gone on to finish 9th.
Mm-hmm.
But it only happened once. It was Canterbury in 2011.
Yes.
And this person who's a West Tigers fan and their Twitter bio is
Don't say their Twitter name. Don't say
No, I'm not saying it. Their Twitter bio simply says 9th. So they're making the same joke.
Mm-hmm.
And they got triggered by this. They said, so one team ever, what a shit stat.
Mm.
And I went, wow. I'm not going to go through the fucking conversation, but this bloke just didn't realise that I was making the same joke that he was. Mm-hmm. And he said I had mental illness purely because I wasn't biting and attacking him and shit. It's kind of funny how something so mundane yet obvious can make some people get so aggressive.
It really is. And I see it with you a lot because like when I read your tweets, they're so inoffensive. Like they're literally just like that's about as if that's the joke. The joke is that it's happened once before. That's the joke. And so
that it did lead to someone finishing 9th, and the West Tigers finishing 9th all the time is something it's another joke as well.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, and so I retweeted it actually because I thought, man, that's a good one. And it's weird that seeing people get angry at you about like it's not even like you're forming opinions. You're literally saying this is an actual statistic. And I'm putting it onto Twitter, and people get angry at you about the statistic.
I know. It's mad.
Yeah.
Oh, people are they're so cranky about stats.
They really are. I did a tweet about, I said that state of origin should be you play for the state you were born in, and that's it. There's no loopholes. If you were born in Australia, but you were born outside, I didn't care. That was it. And I said, I'm not discussing it. And of course, everyone wanted to discuss it with me. And I'm almost at a point with my Twitter feed. And like, if you listen and you tweet me, you know that we have conversations, you know that we talk, but I'm almost at a point where I'm going to tweet and I'm not going to discuss anything ever again. The tweet is there. You can consume it. You can like it, you can not like it, but I will not enter discussion over it. That's just what I'm thinking. Because, I've had some really, really good conversations about footy on Twitter over the last few weeks. But then I see, like, when people get angry at you at stats, and I'm like, oh, man,
Yeah, the ones you get accurate stats, it seriously doesn't worry me. I find it so funny, and
Damn.
to the point that I will always reply just to sort of egg them on and make it get worse.
I have seen you put people on a hamster wheel pretty well.
Doing this shit for my own amusement in the end. But there
Yeah.
you go. That's always funny. Some people just like to be outraged. Um, Now,
Yeah.
one last thing here,
Hmm.
because this has come up mostly because of two games this in the last week, and that was the Raiders versus Warriors game, where
Hmm.
the Raiders lost three players by halftime. I think they only had one interchange for the rest of the game,
Yeah.
and then the Sharks lost four players before halftime, so they had to play the entire. Well, I think the last 56 minutes of the game with no interchange.
Mhm.
And as I was saying to you before we started recording, each team gets 10 interchanges to make every game. And because the Sharks players were dropping so much so quickly in the first half, they didn't even get to make one interchange.
Mhm.
Because every time an injured player come off, another one goes on. That doesn't count as an interchange. Because
Yeah.
they were head knocks.
Yeah.
And so the discussion has come out, and that is, should there be an 18th sub who would be available to clubs in the case of head knocks, I think
Yeah.
is what they're trying to get at. And I know we touched on this in recent episodes. And I said, I'm all for it so long as it can only be used once one player has been ruled out of the game because of HIA. They can't use it for anything else. And
Yeah. And I was against it.
yeah.
Yeah.
For the same, I think you're against for the same reason, and I apologise for saying this in advance. That people like Paul Kent are against it. You're in agreement with him. That coaches will always find a way to rort a system,
Yeah.
and I do agree with him in that sense. He's right there because they've always done it.
Yeah.
Because the history of the interchange in Australia, especially, came about because of player injuries. And so the first rule was, okay, we'll let you have.
Because it used to be you named your 13 players. That was it.
Yeah. And so you're allowed to have an interchange player, but you could only use them in the first half. So if someone got injured in the second half, stiff shit, you're down to 12.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a rule that came in, I believe, in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, if you lost a player to injury, you're down to 12. That's it. There were no interchanges whatsoever. So, I'm pretty sure it was the mid to late 20s. You're allowed to have one sub, and they could only be used they could only come on before halftime. After halftime, you can't use them.
And wasn't there a rule too where at some point, like, your sub had to have played reserve grade as well, so they didn't have fresh legs?
That's right. So this came in, I think, in maybe late 60s, I'm guessing. Not sure. I'll have to check it out. But yeah, they had to have played, I'm not sure if it was a full game, but at least half a game in lower grades. And that rule stayed in place until the early 90s. And then they came in with, you're allowed to have two substitutes that were fresh, which I think was, I'm going off the top of my head, 92-ish, 93-ish, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got expanded out to 4 interchange players. And then we had that weird period where you could use as many interchanges as you want. That was great.
Oh, that was so horrible.
And then they changed it so it was, I can't remember, was it 16 changes you could make? And then they scaled it back to 14, then to 12, and now 10?
Ooh, that's a good. I don't feel like it was 16. I feel like it was 14 the first one.
Okay. It was something like that, yeah. I know they've scaled it back a few times.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it's worked ever since.
Yeah. And I think it's at a really good level now.
It is. I think, though, I suppose the way around it is if you lose, if we're going to be really picky with it, if you lose 2 players to HIA, head knocks, and they've been ruled out because of the head knocks, then and only then should you be allowed to use the 18th sub, possibly. You have to lose 2 players, not just 1, but 2. So you can actually only use it when it's an extreme case.
Well, look, I want to say I've been really steadfast on I like the number of interchanges we're allowing, and I think you name your 17 men. You've got your 13 on the field, your 4 on the bench, and I don't want to budge from that. This last round of football is the first time ever that I've felt like they need more. And like I've been rock solid on it.
Yeah.
But this last round of footy was, and look, it's one round. We've got to remember that. It might just be an outlier. But the way that the game is being played right now, it's being played pretty fast. And there's a lot of attrition, and I think we all wanted that. And I know I like seeing the attrition in the game. And I think that that's something rugby league needs to have, because it's part of rugby league. It's part of you overcome the attrition factor. But this last round, I was thinking, do I need to rethink the way I'm thinking about the bench? Do we need to have 6 players on the bench and keep it the same number of interchanges, but you have 6 players? I don't know what the ideal situation is. I think that you can't do it over I don't think you can make changes on one weekend. That's for sure.
No. I think that's something I'll agree with you on there. We can't be rushing in changes now based on essentially just 2 games.
Yeah.
Because it was also a shocking week for injuries. 20 odd players went down with either an injury or a head knock.
Yeah,
crazy weekend.
It was, and we had a couple of teams. Well, we had at least 3. Like the Raiders, they just at some point you just have bad luck sometimes, and the Raiders and Sharks definitely had bad luck, and the Roosters, the poor buggers, they had bad luck too. How often have we ever, I can't remember ever seeing 3 teams have that sort of injury luck in one round.
No, that's right.
And having an outlier like that is a concern, but I don't think you can rush in an interchange rule of any kind, because you want to look after the players, but as soon as you have extra players on the bench that are fresh, coaches will use it, because that's what they do. Yeah. And it's not nice. It is super cynical, but the coaches won't care.
No, that's right. And that's what they do. And then you'll have these super sub players like Victor Rudd, who will just be sitting there being this 18th man the whole time, but they can just do anything when they get on the field.
Well, and what happens if, and you've got to play devil's advocate with these things, because too often we put in rules and we don't have someone playing devil's advocate and they get exploited. What happens if you have an 18th player on the bench who is just a giant, just an absolute giant? They've got very little stamina. They can give you 15 minutes, but they're like 150 kilo monster. And, if one of your players gets a head knock, they come onto your bench. You can carry that player. If it's late in the game and you need someone to break it open, and you run out there and you say to a player you can maybe do without, or who was looking a bit tired, say you've got a head knock, go in for a tackle and stay on the ground, so we can bring in on our, incredible Hulk off the bench. And that's the worry.
Yeah. So they've got to bring in, I believe, pretty strict stipulation. As I said, I think if you made it so that if you lost 2 players to head knocks, so make it specific and make it more than 1, makes it a bit harder to rule it. And they both players have to be ruled out. It can't be one ruled out and one's deemed okay. They both have to be ruled out.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said before with HIAs, because the concern was always, if you have a free interchange for HIAs, refs will just start making players go down and clutch at the back of their head or their neck or something like that and go, oh, it's a HIA, and come off. And that's going to get milked. And it kind of has been already. I always said that in order to get around that, if you come off for HIA, whether you get cleared or not, you have to miss the next week to make sure that your brain is all in good condition and you're back to 100%. You're back to baseline, essentially. And that would stop coaches trying to exploit as much, knowing that they're going to lose that player if they go with that ploy. I think if you were to bring that in as well as saying you have to have 2 players ruled out failing HIAs in order to use 18th sub, because you're putting so many little attachments to it, it's making it harder for the referee for the coach to abuse it. And it's also making it, I dare say, the downside is it does mean that player welfare is not being considered as much as what people want it to be, because you're making it so hard for the 18th man to come on. But that's not really player welfare. That's more of a team welfare thing as far as the scoreline's concerned.
I wonder if you could have a rule where you name your 4 interchange players. You have 2 on the bench. You have 2 extras, on top of that, which are for if you get players that can't return from HIA. Extend it out so that you can only use those players if you get 2 or more HIA players that can't come back, right? But the penalty, and it's penalty is not the right word for it. If you have to engage those extra 2 players, those 2 players have to be named in your top 17 for the following week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that you can't use them in that super sub role. They become part of your greater first grade squad. And if you do have to call on them, they're in your team next week.
I've got a better idea.
Okay.
The opposition team gets to pick your 18th sub.
You know, I thought of that earlier today, and the only reason I don't like it is because I don't like the idea of teams picking other teams' squads.
No,
even if it's one player.
Thing is, okay.
Yeah.
You're the Panthers. You still name your list of 21 players for the week.
Yeah.
Okay. So the 18th sub has to be picked out of that 21. So you're still having a large amount of control over it. Yeah. You pick your normal 17, and then your remaining 4 players that you put on the extended bench, they're all just going to be super subs. And you say, right, you got to pick who you think is going to be the least impactful out of those if they get on the field. And so you still got some control over it.
Yeah, look, that would be the fairest way to do it. I just don't like the idea of, like, Michael Maguire has to sit around waiting for a phone call from Craig Bellamy to let him know who he can use as his 18th man. Like, there's something wrong about that to me.
No.
But it would be... No, seriously.
I get what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to rugby league rules, I feel like it needs to be natural in some ways. That's why I don't like the, some of the rules they bring in where it's like you kick the ball dead and you get 7 tackles. It's like, what's that about? That doesn't seem natural. All of a sudden you have an extra tackle. Like, I like my rugby league rules to feel like they're a natural part of the game, and I feel like that's unnatural in some way.
Common sense.
Well, yeah, but I don't like to say those words in rugby league because they don't exist in rugby league.
Well, we can work on it. That can be our legacy to rugby league. We'll try and apply common sense to it.
Try and apply common sense, man. It's not going to be much of a legacy. They're going to chuck that out.
That'll keep us busy for the next 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. That last weekend was the first time I sort of thought to myself, I think maybe I need to reassess my 4 interchanges and 8 changes a game thing because, man, there was a lot of attrition. But damn, I'm enjoying rugby league this year. I think that the game has been great.
It has been pretty good so far. It's been really good if you haven't watched too much West Tigers games too. They're still really frustrating to watch.
The only things I would say I don't like, there's too many 6 again calls, and this thing of taking points off with the bunker when they... Oh, jeez. I won't go into that again. Yeah.
I'm over that already.
Yeah, that's horrible.
No other sports goes around there taking points off the scoreboard. That's just stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, I think we've covered a shitload.
Yeah, this has been a really varied and intense episode.
I think we've managed to taper off comfortably at the end.
We have, yeah. I'm sorry for my rant at the beginning. I was very upset all day about that, and
You've got to let the cat out of the bag at the start and just let him go nuts.
Yeah, true. And the thing is, like, I love Jason Talmolo. My phone is named Jason Talmafono. Like, so I'm not even joking. And it's red. I got the red one because it reminded me of Jason Talmolo wearing the Tongan jersey. Like, and I'm not Tongan. It's just, I absolutely love him. He is an immortal, in my opinion.
Have you got some whiteout and put the number 13 on the back?
I considered it. I considered getting a custom like cover put on it that made it look more like his jersey. But like when I bought this phone, and I don't know what it was about it, it just was like, oh, that's like that Tongan red and Jason Talmolo, and I called it Jason Talmafono, and so it's not like I don't like Jason Talmolo. He's like, oh my God, I love watching him play. And so, I just hate the idea that great Tongan legend, international rugby league legend, the greatest lock forward in all time, in my opinion. And I know that's a massive call that you're probably cringing at right now.
Yes.
And plenty are. And I don't even care. Like, that's where I hold him. The idea that he would be anything other than Tonga's great man upsets me.
Yeah, plus, it probably means that you have to play for Queensland too, and that's a problem.
Yeah, why would we do that to him?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, if he was playing for the Blues, I'd be all for it. Nah, not really.
Playing for the Blues, that's a different story.
Dig up the Tesseract.
Anyone know the combination to that vault? Oh, dear. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Make sure you go to manscaped.com. You buy... Look, seriously, just buy everything they've got there, because when you use our code NRL in the shop there, in the checkout, you'll get 20% off, free shipping, 30-day money-back guarantee. Why not buy everything? Seriously.
What, are you going to keep your money?
Yeah, what do you want that for?
Stop being a povo.
Keep your money in your pubes. It just doesn't seem like the right thing to do.
Yeah, get rid of the money, get rid of the pubes, win.
Simple. It is that simple. Also, make sure you go to your podcast app and give us a 5-star rating and give us a review. We'll read them out on here. We'll put them up on the website. Make sure you send us an email. You can go to the website, Freaky.
Yeah, go to fergoandthefreak.com, click on the contact section and send us an email. We've had plenty to talk about in this episode. So if you've got, an opinion you want to give us, or you've got a question, anything at all, just email it to us through the website, and we will read it out on the air.
Bloody oath. You can check us out too on Twitter and Instagram at Fergo Freak Pod. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, MySpace, YouTube. Just all the socials that you're on. We know you're on all of them.
And we're starting to get a few new followers on the Facebook and Twitter as well for the podcast feeds. So they're both starting to grow again, which is cool.
Yeah, get in there, add us into conversations and stuff. We'll be replying to that.
Yep.
On both Twitter and Facebook. So get involved there. That'd be fantastic. And I suppose that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's been a good episode. Thanks to everyone for listening, and thanks for listening to we know we do the longest rugby league podcasts on planet Earth, and we love having these longer conversations because some things deserve long conversations, and we thank you for listening.
Absolutely. Thanks for enduring us in this one too. It's a bit of a lengthy one. And,
that's what she said. And it's been 2 years. How good are we?
2 years. Still smashing them out several times a week.
Oh, it's great. So much fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, everyone, for 2 years and for this episode, and we'll catch you all next time.